Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday night, 7:30. Welcome to Carlton Live. And you're coming to us following a fantastic win. It's been a while since we've been able to say that. I don't know how long, but it's always good to be up and about and especially do a show after we have a win because it doesn't happen that often. But hopefully it will happen more often from now on. Johnny, mate, I know you're getting on in years. Good evening to you. Did you have to have an ambulance on standby for that last quarter, mate?
Yeah, it was pretty intense, wasn't it? I was jumping up and down, and like everyone was, and quite irate at the time. But I thought once Gazza missed his shot on goal, I thought, gee, the footy gods are with us tonight. We're going to win this. That was game over if he got that. They had all the momentum. It would put them in count. We wouldn't have come back from that.
They must exist, those footy gods, because I was praying very hard. I promised to sacrifice my third-born child when I have it. Put some blood on an altar. Yeah, there was some definite praying going on, and I had something ready to get to smash the TV again, but that would have cost me another $1,000. But we somehow hung on. And it was a bloody good win. And how good was Eddie Betts saving the game for us?
Oh, sensational. What a great game he played, 4 quarters. So just first question, is Carlton like a $1,000 a week habit for you, with TVs?
Yeah, it's very expensive barracking for this team. Don't worry about that. I'm sure other people are in the same situation going on at their place. Thank you very much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carlton Live. I am Trevor Wallard, and we're joined by the COVID-free John Rowe. He's been officially tested during the week. You might see him sucking on some water tonight rather than his usual James Bogues, but he's been tested and is COVID-free. I don't know what other germs or nasties he's got going, but we can rule out COVID. Thank you very much for joining us. We've got Scully Mitchum. G'day, Scully. Thank you for joining us. Shannon Wells, great win, says Shannon. Pecco, Train, we love you, mate. How are you tonight? Clinton Bart McRae, fantastic to have you as always on the show. Bloody good win. Everyone is up and about. Shannon Wells, Trev, just get Levi praise out of the way early.
Yeah.
Well, we could probably do a whole show about Levi and his game. It was just an amazing game by Levi. The big man is up and about for sure.
Yeah, look, I noticed in that first quarter in particular, Levi was getting manhandled by the backs much more than what you ever would if you got in 5 metres of him and didn't get a free kick.
Oh, look, Levi would definitely not be able to get me off his back if we ever managed to get that close to each other. He'd have to play well out in front, that's for sure.
But yeah, what a terrific win. I know it was an absolute heart stopper, but you've got to sit back and think and say before the game we were $4.65. And it's one of the hardest road trips in football, and we were successful in the end off the back of a brilliant first quarter, first half, and then what a wonderful thing to hold on and win. It's just a wonderful effort, and that could really kick us.
Yeah, it was. We're going to dissect the game a little bit more in depth. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the game. What we did well, what we didn't do well. Your enjoyment, your celebrations, all throughout the show. We're also going to have a chat about the game coming up against Essence Scum on Saturday night. Saturday night? Yeah, Saturday night. And we've also got a special guest for us tonight coming on in about 5 or 10 minutes, and that is Kate Jesaulenko. So really looking forward to having a chat to the up-and-coming media megastar, Kate. It'll be good to have a chat to her.
Yeah, look forward to it. We had a bit of a chat before in the green room. Yeah.
Trev, love your stuff. Bon Draper, good evening to you. Adrian Hines from down in the COVID-free Tassie state. Thank you for joining us. We love your stuff down there. I wish we could get down there, unfortunately. Andrew Lake, how are you, Andrew? Our resident Google Carlton. Thank you, mate, for joining us. And conquer and divide, the key dismantling the Cats. Really good point. We came in with a plan against the Cats. Just wasn't the attack on the footy. There was a there was another game plan at foot, and that was we're able to execute that. And Johnny, how good were the skills on show in terms of the disposal efficiency was up, and we really did carve them up in that space.
Absolutely. I'll probably miss quite a few players here, but it was a really good team effort. I just wanted to highlight a few. Mark Murphy, we said last week how good it would be to take him out of the guts, put him on the outside, and let him play to his absolute strength, which is to kick the ball into the forward line, to be that last kick in. And what happens? First goal to Eddie. Eddie was in 30 metres of space. It was just the most perfect kick from Mark. So it's a great move. And with him moving to a wing, that brought Jack Martin in to the centre, and that was a stroke of genius. He's that missing link now, I think, that we've been praying for. He's creative. He tackles really strongly. He can get it inside. He can go outside and use it on either foot. He's a beauty. Really, really happy with him.
Yeah, let's be honest. Murph's copped a bit of criticism of late for potentially, no tackling, or his hardness around the ball. That's not his role now, is it? There's other players to play that in and under midfield role. And as you mentioned, Jack Martins, did a fantastic job for that on Saturday. You mentioned the delivery into the forward line. That is, the delivery in the forward line that I saw on Saturday night was something that we've been wanting out of our mids and to see for a long, long time. Particularly that now that we've got that forward structure in place with Levi and Eddie and Big Casbolt, we didn't see those big bomb, nothing kicks into the forward line. What we saw was people like Martin and Murphy and Cunningham and all those other midfielders that we had, Gibbons. They were just lowering their eyes and kicking to space. And what happened? Casbolt and Mackay running onto it, and it was just poetry in motion.
McGovern chipping in. Eddie had a field day. Yeah, look, just one point that you made in there was Gibbo. I just want to single him out too and say what a dramatic step forward he has taken this year, particularly in the last two games. He has gone from someone on the border of VFL to AFL to really, really belonging in these last two games. He looks really, really the goods and a great pickup.
Yeah, look, and he did an interview during the week, and I think also that the coach was full of praise as well, and a lot of people were telling the coach to stick Gibbo in the midfield, and he mentioned that Gibbo was the one of the main guys wanting to see that happen, and look, it made sense. He mentioned in that interview that being a forward wasn't his expertise. That the time he'd spent was mainly in the midfield, and now that he's got a bit of that happening, confidence and hard at it as well. We know what he's been able to do in the VFL and the awards that he's won in that space. The big chance that he's going to take that next step and be one of the key elements to our midfield.
Yeah, I reckon he's well on the way to planting his foot in having taken that step, and we can say that in the past tense.
Who else have we got tonight? Andrew Lake says Ed's job on Selwood was telling. Duckwood, should we say? Really good job by Ed and really cut him out of the game. Dangerfield was also a non-influencer. We beat Geelong at their own game, and to do that on their own dunghill was a fantastic effort, as we've already discussed.
We're going to put a lot of plaudits to Ed too. He's just week in, week out, he delivers. He's almost got to be the first one that you put on the team sheet, particularly when you're up against
Pecco Train, Levi contested marking masterclass. I know you've written him off every week, mate, and clearly, Casbolt is just taking the whole side to another level.
Off his own back, yes. No, he was fantastic on the weekend, and they just couldn't get near him. I was surprised how he monstered their backs, because there's some pretty big units down there.
Angelo Gravina, g'day Angelo. Hey gents, how you feeling now? Almost punched a hole in the wall. I'm glad you did it. That probably would have happened if we would have lost. One Kimino, g'day Ryan, pleased to have you on the show. Big Pit, what a pickup. A lot of plaudits for Pitnet's game, and we did say last week on the show that we saw him in action in the preseason, and we thought he was ripe and ready to go. And he did a fantastic effort on Sunday.
Well, yeah, he sure did. And look, at the time that he was drafted, he really went under the radar, didn't he? Because traded, and what we got rid of Phillips for him, and you sort of think, it's one for one type of thing. But yeah, he's really lifted his game. He's been fantastic these past 2 weeks. I can't speak highly enough of him. His contest around the ball is cruiser-like. The way he just digs in, and if someone's there to tackle, he'll tackle him. Keeps his feet, marks when he needs to. Does those little things. Yeah, really impressed so far.
Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. It's always fantastic to be up and about after a win. And what a win it was. It was 2 points after being 42 points up, and there would have been a lot of nervous blues in their lounge rooms, but we hung on, and as we've already said and seen, Eddie Betts was the man that got us over the line, and his class and that tackle in that last quarter was poetry in motion. We're going to get to our special guest in about a minute or so, and that's Kate Jesaulenko. If you've got some questions for Kate, we'd love to have you send them out to her. We can't wait to have a chat to her. Footballing royalty, of course, and now a multimedia megastar in her own right. Question here. I'm not sure who mentioned it. It was Julian Muscat. Go, Julian. Just for you, Johnny. McKay's performance.
Yeah, I thought he was good enough. He's still got a long way to go to reach his best. He hasn't had the most ideal preparation to the season, but what I liked about him is that he was attacking the contest, but most importantly, he was keeping his feet. And able to do that second and third go at the ball. So I thought he was okay. A long way to go, but he definitely fits in there. Yeah, and it's only a matter of time if he keeps contesting, keeps his feet. It's only a matter of time before he has a big one. He's got to fix his kicking up too for goal.
Yeah, he's an integral part of our side, and he fits in if they can get that structure right. I like Gov moving up the ground a bit more to leave Harry and Kaz potentially back there to fight out the marking contests. He's 2 games in after an extended break, so he'll be better for that run, and we know what he can do, and that high marking. And yeah, you're right, he needs to settle down on his kicking.
And Eddie Betts just reading off the feet of both of them. Oh man. My Lord, we've missed you, Eddie.
Andrew Lake says the best tackle since Fraser Brown on Dean Wallace.
I was thinking that. Well done.
Have you seen the Eddie Betts tackle with the Titanic music?
No, I haven't. No, I must have a look at that.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get to our special guest. We'll have a bit more of a chat about the game after we have a chat to her. And yeah, we're really pleased that she was kind enough to take some time out to join us. I'll bring her into the show right this second. 3, 2, 1. And now we have Kate Jesaulenko. Kate, really pleased to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
That's good.
You know who that is. Yeah.
That's the second tier. You're the famous one in the family. So
that's right. These days I am.
First things first. I hope you're having a drink with us. This is a nice program where we kick back and have a drink.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. We had Wow Jones on a few weeks ago, and he was on the rosé. So
beautiful.
It was a bit of a questionable drink that he was drinking, but that's okay.
Yeah, 6'8" drinking a rosé was quite hilarious.
So, how are you finding this new multimedia megastar?
Oh my goodness! I am not a whatever you said. That's not me at all.
All it took was a smackdown of Kane Corns just to give him what he's just deserved, and now it's great that you've been able to appear on a few programs. I know you do some great stuff for WA Blues. Are you enjoying a bit of time in the spotlight?
Loving it. Yeah, they're fantastic. Love chatting to the boys every week and lots of fun. It's good fun.
Yeah, and there's a lot of feedback. A lot
For
of
those
feedback.
who live under,
Sorry,
was
Tommy.
for those of us who live under a rock, what was the big whack that you gave?
Oh, God, I'm so over this. So Kane Corns said on a program, I don't even know, I was told about it, I didn't even see it, that Dad's mark was overrated and was in the top 50. Now, I took great offence to that, and to clear it up for everybody, because no one's having a go at me, it wasn't about Dad's mark being the most famous or the greatest or the best or whatever it was. It was about a little bloke called Kane Corns coming out and stating that Dad's mark was overrated, first of all, and not in the top 50. Now, I believe there's a line between players and legends of the game where you draw a line and you show some respect. And I don't think that those words should have come out of that man's mouth, and that was my point.
Yes, there's a lot of things he doesn't filter. But yeah, we'll move on from that because it must have been quite, particularly the attention that got would have been a little bit traumatic. So let's move on from that.
It wasn't traumatic. It was just I had to make my point, but yeah, I'm so over it. It's just been a question asked so many times, and we're over it. Who cares?
Yeah,
We'd all like to smack down Kane for sure, but look, at the end of the day, it's you put your point across, and it's got you, out in there in the spotlight and having a chat to Carlton fans, and we'd love to hear what you have to say on your program and speaking from the heart, which is what everyone loves to do, but not often does. But
that's just what I do. I'm known for that, so that's just what I do.
That's the thing. Take us back. Obviously, your dad is the greatest, or one of the greatest Carlton players to have ever donned the Guernsey. Were you aware of that growing up as a young girl in the house, that your dad was a star, or is it something that you sort of sit in the background? How did you go growing up as a Jesaulenko?
I actually didn't realise anything. I came at the end of Dad's career in 79, so I was born in 79. My mother was the kind of human who wouldn't allow him to be any bigger than what he thought he could be. I've said this. I recall one day Dad telling me he came home, he kicked 12 goals, 11 or something against Adelaide, and Mum said, how embarrassing. I have to go to the social club tonight. You could have kicked 18 goals, 4 or something, but now I have to go there and kick 12 goals, 11 points. You're an embarrassment. So she never let him get any bigger than his boots, and there was never any memorabilia or anything up in our home regarding Dad. We didn't really have any idea. It was just normal for us that people came up and wanted an autograph or a photo or something like that. And it wasn't until I think I was in grade 6 or something when Dad came back to coach in 89 that we're at school and people started asking me, what do your parents do? What do your parents do? And I said, well, my dad coached this football team called Carlton, and it went through the whole school and I had everyone staring at me, and that was my first taste of what on earth is going on here. So I was 12.
And how did you handle that as a young girl?
Oh, I just went home and said, Dad, what are you doing? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you in the... And then I realised he was in the paper, and, I'm like, get out of the paper. And he's like, I can't help it. So, yeah.
No, that's fantastic. How do you look back now and reflect on your dad's career in terms of, growing up now and understanding the influence that he's had as a footballer and the influence he's had on crew teams as well, and as well the influence he's had on a lot of people? How do you reflect on that?
Look, I think that he's just... I love my dad. I'm daddy's baby girl. I think he's an incredible human being apart from football. I think he did an amazing job in football. It wasn't until a few years ago really that I watched highlights of him and things like that, where people have said to me, you're stupid, watch him, but we were never brought up to actually watch him. And the balance and the skill that he had I think is incredible, and he's got it not just in football but in anything that he goes for. So if you want to take my dad on in tennis or golf or running or swimming or anything, you just won't beat him. So
But just a lovely man to approach. Having not known him at the times that I've met him at the social club, and he's always up for a chat and up for a handshake and all that. So it's just a genuinely lovely guy.
he is. He's very gentle. He's just. I'm blessed to have him as my father. For him to be the person that I grew up with as my dad, taught me a lot of things about how men treat me, really. And blessed to have him. He's now over it. He's over the spotlight. He's completely done. He just wants to stay home and do his own thing. And but he is. He's a genuine, incredible man. I adore him.
So from the age of 12, did you continue following the Blues, or was it a little bit later on that you really got involved with the Blues? Tell us about your Carlton Jesaulenko sort of post his coaching career.
Well, I went with, as I said, I was Daddy's little girl, so I went to every single training session with him. I used to follow Mil Hannah around like a bad smell. He was my big crush. And after that, I've just continued to follow them and have followed them up until today, really. You become part of the club. You become part of something that's something very special when you're around the club. So, I was in the rooms. I was at every single training session. I saw them play on the weekends. I saw Dad devastated when they lost. I saw him wrapped when they won. It becomes part of your life. It's part of your blood, your culture, part of you.
Yeah.
So with women's footy being quite popular these days, was that ever? Do you look back now and think, well, if there was women's footy back in the day, you would have had a crack?
I would have kicked ass, if I can say that. If I was 10 years younger, I tell you what, these girls would have been in big trouble. I would have annihilated them. It would have been.
I believe you.
No, absolutely. I can do football further than Trent can. Thanks to me.
Not too late. Come on, let's see you out there.
Maybe.
You'll have to do a video for us and post it. You're
absolutely no worries.
Taking a big specky over Trent or something like that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I don't know if I can jump that high, but I'll try.
Do you have any favourite memories of your dad and your time growing up? Anything that sort of singles out, other than obviously having a big crush on Mil Hannah? I had a big crush on Mil too. So.
Well, I used to steal Dad's phone, and he's got a little black book, and there's anybody that's in this book. And because I was 12 and had a massive crush on Mil Hannah, I used to call Mil and say, come and pick me up. And he couldn't say no. And Dad wouldn't know. And he'd have to come to the house and pick me up. And he'd have to take me down to Lambs on Lygon Street for a souvlaki. And he'd knock on the door, and Mum and Dad would be like, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, well, Kate's called me. I've got to take her for a souvlaki down to Lambs. And as much as I got into trouble for it, I just kept doing it because I just loved hanging out with you.
It could have been worse. You could have been hanging out with a Collingwood player or something like that.
Exactly.
He would have.
Beautiful. I adore him. Beautiful man.
He would have got to lock you up. If you've got any questions for Kate, we'd love to hear from them. There's one here from our resident footy expert, Andrew Lake. And was it a tough decision, he says, for your dad to take the job again in 1989?
It actually was, to be honest. We were living in Canberra, where they had come from, Mum and Dad, where they met and married and everything. And Carlton approached Dad, and after the 79 debacle, Mum wasn't very happy about Dad coming back to Carlton at all. And he just said, give it one more shot. And then they let him down again. So it was a big decision to leave. And then Dad felt very bad for bringing the family away from all the family. But you get over that. It's, he's over it. It's fine. but it was, yes, the answer is yes. It was a big decision for him to make at the time. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it was a tumultuous time for the Blues in that period, and it'll be definitely a very, very hard thing for sure. How do you go?
You're watching the game now. Obviously, you followed Saturday's game very closely.
I told you not to do this.
I'm steering away. Who do you like now? Who would you say you would have a crush on now?
Now?
Yeah.
Ooh. I can't. That would be like pedophilia or something. I can't say that.
What if you say Kate Simpson, because Kate Simpson's like 50?
No, I'll say Trent Road.
What about footy crush? Who do you love watching at the footy?
For Carlton?
Yes.
Oh, who's the oldest player who plays for Carlton? I can't say this. Lance Whitnell. I can't answer that. Past and present or just present?
Present players that you think are really, really good players, and you love that you walk through the gates for really looking forward to watching play football. Let's take away the crush aspect.
Okay, I've got a very soft spot for the Silvanis.
Yeah.
Mum and Dad used to babysit Stephen, and then I grew up at the club with Stephen playing, and then now his boys are there, so I'll say the Silvanis. I don't have a crush on them. I just have a soft spot for them.
Yeah, some good-looking lads there. I think they'll be doing okay in their little.
They'll be doing just fine. I just saw a comment there about the day Dad was knocked out by Stan Magro, and I wanted to say I was born that day. Wow. And Dad ended up Mum was at St Vincent's private hospital giving birth to me, and Dad ended up in the room next to her unconscious. And Dad woke up and I was born, and he said to me that day, "You'll always be a knockout baby." That's a true story. That's a very true story.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
I suppose back in the day, dads weren't necessarily part of the whole birthing stuff, so at least he was probably closer to the action than most dads were at that time.
Yeah, he was a lot closer. Yeah, they didn't go into the birthing rooms those days. No, especially Dad. No.
Question from John Allen. I don't know if you know him or not. He says, "Where's a celebrity poaching? He wants some commission."
John, get a bed, John.
Yeah, no, it's early over there. Johnny, thank you very much for organising this. John Allen, chairman of the WA Blues, and all-round nice guy, does some really great stuff over there on Carlton Blues Radio, and was lucky enough to do a spot over there a couple of weeks ago now, I think.
and we can't wait to have Johnny on in future weeks.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that. We look forward to having John over. We'd actually like to probably go to WA right now, because that seems to be where all the footy will happen. They're talking about a grand final over there.
I would love to go. Absolutely, I love Perth. I love WA.
Yeah, it's a beautiful town, isn't it?
Oh,
Perth?
Beautiful. Yeah. Love it.
Well, I fell in love with it, but, as I said before the show, my place is Noosaville, but Perth I really did fall in love with. I really got a soft spot for it.
Oh, yeah, the beaches and everything are just superb. It's unbelievable over there.
Yeah, Fremantle and down to Narragansett, which we used to go to on the Margaret River, right on the beach.
I'd love to actually go right up north. Dad's done the whole of WA, and he just adores it. He thinks it's incredible.
Yeah,
I'd love to go. Yeah.
So how is your dad these days? Is his health okay? Is he sort of now just, as you said, staying in the background and doing the grandfather dad stuff?
Yeah, he's just grandfather to the grandchildren. He's got, God, what has he got now? 1, 2, 4, 6 grandchildren, 1 great-grandchild. And he's just stepped completely out of the spotlight. He has zero interest. He believes there's 100 Jesaulenkos out there today. There's no need for him. And he's a bit concerned about the COVID stuff, so he's done a bit of self-isolation. I've gone to visit him a few times and had to say hi from the balcony. Managed to get in there last week and give him a high elbow. But he's good. He's fine. He's healthy. He's happy. He's great.
Oh, that's good news.
That's right.
And yeah, like as John alluded to before, it just obviously goes to the humbleness of him. Obviously, saying that not necessarily that he's up in the spotlight now. There's his name and his deeds will stick in our memories for a long time. And there's a lot of people on this show and our audience that still love to talk about him. And for what it's worth, even though the stuff that went down between you and Cairns, what it did was it just put your dad back in the spotlight again, and it showed that there's a lot of people that did do remember his time at Carlton, his time in footy, and that mark, which is still iconic, even though the words that Kane used were ridiculous. But whatever it did, it still it brought out a lot of memories from Carlton supporters. That's for sure.
Well, I think the name Jesaulenko is going to be synonymous with Carlton for a very long time, and those that have been lucky enough to meet him and have his aura around them, he's just a beautiful man, and he takes time for everybody, and he's just magnificent. I think he's just had enough of it all now, so it's time to move on.
Yeah.
So what's the plans for Kate Jesaulenko now that you're a media superstar? Is it Dancing with the Stars, Big Brother? We can't say the Bachelorette.
No, God, don't say that. No. He just took over the camera before. He's not going to be happy with you. But anyway, I'm just happy doing what I'm doing. I'm having fun with Johnny and the boys over in WA, and talking to beautiful blokes like you, and whatever's, I'm in talks with a few people, so whatever comes along, comes along.
Well, thank you.
Maybe we're Housewives of Altona North. Or Carlton.
That would actually make a very good show.
Yeah, it would. You've just seen one tiny little bit of it.
and that's probably hilarious. Really smile on my dial.
Kate, it's been a very, very big pleasure to talk to you. We probably could talk for a long time about yourself and footy and your dad. And, we just wanted to have a chat to you, really, of course, because, you're out there and we love hearing what you've got to say, and you say how it is, and you're a great personality. And it's really fun to talk to you. And it's a bonus that you've obviously got that Carlton connection, and I'm sure our audience appreciate that as well.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me. It was lovely talking to you guys.
Thank you very much, Kate Jesaulenko. Really pleased to have Kate on, and again, thanks to John Allen, who organised that for us over in WA Blues. John, that was a real treat talking to Kate. I know it was only a small snippet, but clearly, that connection, that history she's got is amazing.
Yeah, it was a very entertaining lady. Yeah, well, I'm glad we did that there. That's been a highlight of the show for me. And
we've always looked at having a rose between two thorns, so you never know. We might have to get Kate on back again at some stage. We've probably got boosted our ratings from 3 to 4 having Kate on, I'd imagine. No, it's fantastic stuff. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as you've heard, that was Kate Jesaulenko. Like we said, thanks again to Kate. Let's get back to the footy, mate. You didn't tip us on the week. You didn't tip us on the weekend last show. What have you got to say for yourself?
That I'm the worst tipper in the world. I tipped us to easily beat Melbourne too. So there you go. I got no idea.
Some other players that stood out for you on the weekend. Tom Williamson came back in for his first run in, I think, 12 months. Obviously at the expense of poor Nick Newman, who did his patella against Melbourne. But it was an obvious replacement given Tommy's time at half back. How did you think he performed first up?
Yeah, well, I mean, he wasn't exactly a superstar, but geez, he's tough at the football. He's tough in the contest. He loved throwing the Geelong players to the ground, and that free kick that gave away their first goal in the first quarter, I didn't mind that. It's just that he did it right in front of the umpire's nose. It's like, but he didn't take a backward step with Joel Selwood. So Good on him. He's a ripper.
Yeah, look, you're right. Strong around the contest. He that handball he dished out, could have easily, just not, could have lost possession and got holding the ball or something like that. He held the ball quite well. A couple of strong marks. I think one wasn't paid. I loved his tackling and approach on the footy and the player. I'm with you. I didn't mind that hit on Selwood. Happens in the centre of the ground. Gets a free kick and no one talks about it. But an up and coming, and I remember him doing it against Gary Ablett when he played at the Gold Coast. So an up and coming young bloke, 21, just to give Selwood one like that. It's a bit cheeky, but it shows the kind of guy that he is.
Yeah, hard competitor, isn't he? Yeah, I'm impressed more and more every week, which I think everyone is, with Wiedering and how he's growing into that particular role. We always said right from the start it was going to take a few years. There was a lot of gnashing and wailing of teeth in the early days that, what did we, it's particularly year 2, it's sort of, where he sort of tapered off a bit. We're sort of thinking, a lot of people are thinking, what did we really get here? But now you're starting to see, probably an all-Australian backman.
Yeah, he did a really good interview today and mentioned confidence and confidence in his body, being able to compete with those big forwards. He's always been a bit of a reserve guy off the field, but he hasn't ever taken a back step on the field. And now he's got that body to back him up now, and that confidence. Plus, working in tandem with Liam Jones, it's and now Doc again is just seeing what a lot of people are saying is all Australian material this year.
Yeah, he's a beauty, and look, I'm going to start it today. I'm going to start the Plowman bandwagon, and I'm on it. I love him as a footballer. He just, week in, week out, he delivers exactly what the coach tells him to. He doesn't get a lot of stats, but he gets a hand in here or a push off there. He just impacts the contest at exactly the right time. And there's numerous examples of it. I wish we were allowed to actually show footage, because of last week's game and this week's game, I would have come up with quite a good collage of his little 1%ers that he does. I reckon he's a beaut. I can't understand the vitriol that he gets. He plays a role, and he's a fantastic addition to our side, and we're very, very lucky to have him. Get on board the bandwagon.
Mr. Plow, you say, Johnny. Look, fantastic 3 quarters, didn't he? He did a lot of that run and carry. He did, beat his man fair and square. I think a lot of the stuff from Mr. Plow comes from being in the position he's in, and a turnover or a drop mark or missed handball, they're glaring, and they usually result in goals. So that's also, I think, where the feedback gets a bit negative on Plowman, probably. I think.
But then by the same token, Doherty did a couple of howlers against Melbourne in the dying minutes last week, and just gets away scot-free. So it's really, he's a whipping boy, and I don't like it. I'm sticking my hand up and saying, look, I'm fully on the Plowman bandwagon. It's a lot of the things that go unnoticed that he does.
Yeah, and we we watch the footy on the TV. We also see a small snippet of the play, of course. There's many things that go on behind the play in terms of positioning and, like you said, 1%ers. I'm not a Plowman basher. It's just unfortunate that he's got that tag at the moment. There seems to be one whipping boy for Carlton, and Mr. Plow is it. We're talking about a top 3 in our best and fairest last year, top 5, I think, at some point.
Wasn't he third? I think he was third.
Yeah, top 3. So clearly, he's recognised by the club and the coach by that. From speaking to David Teague, he's a favourite of Teague. You don't expect Mr. Plowman to be going out of the side or any time soon. So let's get back in and back him, and hopefully, he grows along with the other back line as well. Yeah,
absolutely.
You mentioned Doherty. He hasn't just put a foot wrong, and he's just slotted back in really, really nicely in the last, particularly Saturday night. He was awesome.
Yeah, I saw it during pre-season training as well, as just how light he just moves across the top of the ground. It's like he's tiptoeing across the ground, and he just moves so quickly. And it just gives him such an advantage to couple that with his read of the play. He's a very good footballer. We've really missed him. But, you wouldn't know that he's had 2 years out of the game, would you?
Yeah. I'd like to bring your point to Adrian Hines makes a really good point, and Cripper's probably up there for best on ground with Levi and Eddie. And it's a really good point that he didn't, and this is what we want. We don't want Cripper to have the full impact, to be the load carrier. And Adrian says he didn't seem to have such an impact due to support from his teammates. One thing I didn't mention in the start of the show was how even we were across the board. Every line and every player had a contribution, and we don't get that with Carlton a lot of the time. It's usually that 10 or 11 players that might be there, and in the bottom 7 you might not think that it had done that much, but it was a really, really even spread. And Adrian's right, Cripper didn't need to carry that whole load, but still was one of our best players.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And as soon as you start to see Cripper drift forward, that he's starting to have confidence in the midfield in that particular game to realise, okay, I can get off the leash a little bit because I've got the support behind me. When we're under the pump, you won't see him drift forward.
For sure. Clint Bart McRae says Gov is the whipping boy and needs to start to dominate. He's so close, isn't he? It's just he's playing a bit part right now. Taking those grabs will be more confidence to him. He's kicking the goals we need him to kick. I think he's playing his role. I hope he has a breakout game, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too. He's as equally frustrating as he is exciting to watch, but I thought his game on the weekend was better. It was better than the Melbourne game. Melbourne game was up and down. It was either the best of the best, or it was just terrible from him. But his game on the weekend was a lot better. One thing that, while I remember it, this really stuck out in my mind again, going back to Jack Martin and how tough he is. I'm going to say it was the third quarter when Geelong were really starting to get a bit of a run on. Looked like they were starting to peg back the lead. And he was sitting just off the back of the square. There was the ball coming towards him, 2 Geelong players running flat out at him. They had the momentum to grab the ball, and Jack Martin just stood, kept his feet, picked the ball up. The 2 Geelong players went to ground. And I reckon, if I'm not mistaken, that ended up in a transition and a shot on goal. It was just absolutely brilliant. Just a presence of mind and the ability to keep the feet. It was that's A+ class material.
What went wrong in the last quarter?
Well, it seems to be a trend now that we're only playing 3 quarters, and that's not good. That's not going to win your finals. It's not going to win your grand finals at the end of a year. But in saying that, it was always going to be a hard trip down there. They were always going to come back. And what I particularly like is that we got the jump this time. And it's just a mindset thing. Is once you've got them, they've got to get them type of thing. It's like, playing one-day cricket. If you've got bat first and you've got 350 on the board, it's a different mindset, isn't it? When you're playing second, when you're batting second, you're batting with a completely different mindset. And same with football. If you go in quarter time, 5 goals up, they've got to do everything. The ball's in their court to get back into the game.
I'm glad you brought up that comment about mindset. So surely now this answers a lot of questions about where we are as a footy team and a footy club. Surely this game against Geelong says that we are I'm not saying a great footy side, but we are a good to very good side, and we can play very good footy. It's whatever's going on, whether it's the first quarter, the last quarter, the coach says it wasn't fitness. It has to be mindset after what we saw on Saturday.
Yeah, look, you can't. It's almost inexplicable from a supporter sense, even from a coaching and playing sense, to dish up what we did in the 2 first quarters against Richmond and Melbourne. It's just simply not good enough. And, you know, you give any team, so look at the way Gold Coast is travelling. You gave them that sort of head start, and they'll kill you by 15, 20 goals the way they're travelling at the moment. You just can't let your guard down like that. So it is a mindset thing, but again, I'd much rather have the runs on the board first.
Runs on the board in terms of the score.
Yeah, in terms of the score, for sure.
So are you agreeing that we are a good side? Where do you, what do you, is it everything? Is it up top? Is there still deficiencies? Are we a good side?
I think we've got the capability of being a finals side. I think I mentioned last week that if that's the only thing that we've got to get right is the mindset, then we can become a very, very good team. There's no doubt we've got the talent there. We're starting to see the second-run players stand up now, like your Gibbons. Pitney's come out of the blue, so to speak. I'm going to go back to Plowman as stepping up. Wheats has stood up to be one of the big leaders at the club. You've got Doherty back. You got Betts. We've finally got a small forward again. You know, SPS has played a ripper game against Melbourne. So it's that second tier of player that's really starting to come through. And, you know, Cripps can have confidence in his midfield that the guys are going to get the job done.
That is the challenge. It's the challenge of all footy teams. You know, like you see a team like Adelaide who you know, on paper they look pretty good, but at the moment they're playing shit because it's a shit mindset and they're getting beaten and now they don't know how to get out of that hole. You know, our mindset could have been totally different moving forward if we had lost that game. You know, it's and you know, you're 3-0. Do you think, okay, well, am I going to bust my nuts to try and, you know, get out of this hole again? It's individual performances that they get confidence by playing well and getting that win, knowing that they can do that and bring it next week. You know, there's whoever's played footy here will understand that the mindset is one of the biggest things that happens in footy.
Yeah, and the way Adelaide look at the moment, they've got 5 or 10 years of pain with that mindset. You know, poor Matthew Nicks is on a hiding to nothing at the moment. He's got to clear out and start again, I think.
Very good. Thank you very much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. It's really fun to chat to you and have you all commenting. Appreciate that. There's a lot of comments coming through. Hoping I'm getting them up on the screen as much as I can. It was great to have a chat to Kate Jesaulenko. How's everyone's hearts after Saturday? Did you have a drink? Did you celebrate? Did you watch the replay like I did at 7 o'clock in the morning? Did you read all the papers and read the footy shows? It always happens after you win. I know we don't want to be getting to this point where we're celebrating these wins like they're rare as hen's teeth. We want to be talking about wins every week, don't we, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've had enough pain.
We've had enough pain. All right. Let's have a chat about this week's game against Essendon Scum. There's been a lot going on about who's in and who's playing and whether we're playing and when we're playing. It seems to be all settled down now. I, for one, want to play the best team that they've got to dish up and not have to worry about any bullshit with COVID. I want to beat them on their merits. I think we can beat them on their merits. A totally different team than the Pussycats. Are we going to do much different, or is it just again that attack on the footy that's going to be the deal breaker for us?
Well, they're probably a lot quicker on the outside than Geelong are. So if you're tough at the contest and don't let them to get to that outside, then you go a long way to beating them, which I think that we can do on the evidence that I saw in the first 3 quarters of Saturday's game. We can do that, and we can get on the outside ourselves with guys like Murphy and Martin and SPS who can deliver the ball fantastic to the forward line. And, you know, if we can do that, and if we can turn up for 4 quarters, then we're every chance to beat them, and every chance to beat every other team that we come up against.
Pecco Train says, "What do you think about Philp this week? A little too top heavy. Any changes? Do you think the scratch match that happened on Saturday? I had a look at the report today. Apparently, Kennedy was probably the best player out of that. I saw some really good highlights from Philp and Honey. Phil just seems to be doing everything right, doesn't he? Is he tearing down the door? Is he open up for a spot for someone like Nunes, for instance? And Fisher's back as well.
I'm a big rat for Phil. I have been right from the start. I'd love to see him get a game, but after the weekend, you sort of say, "Hey, we've got a winning formula there. Why change it?" Type of thing. Unless someone's injured, why change it?
Yeah, I can't see any changes. I think, especially after a win, it'd be very, very difficult to bring someone else in, and unless there is someone out knocking out the door. But it's what we want. We want the likes of Phil knocking on the door, don't we? We want the likes of Kennedy and Honey knocking down the door, and if that's what they're doing, they're putting pressure on the senior blokes to maybe think, okay, if I'm not out there doing my best, then I'll be kicking Dew off the ground somewhere unknown earlier on in the day.
Yeah, I'm really happy for Kennedy, and I hope he strings it together for quite a few games, and then he'll stick his hand up. He was pretty much written off, I think, at the start of the season. If he gets some really good football, there's no reason why he can't break into that midfield or take over a similar role to Jesaulenko, fill in when someone's injured. So he's on the right track. Josh Huddy, I haven't seen him play recently, but pre-season he was. He's a bit of a live wire, really, isn't he? He's a bit of a wild card. So he's a bit of a bonus, I think.
I think it was Josh Honey. I'm not sure it was Honey or Phil that took a big specky over Lockie Henderson in the twos. Did you see that highlight?
No, but I would love to.
Look it up. It's really good. Justin Matmore says, should McKay get dropped? We talked about that earlier. He's an integral part of our side. He won't get dropped. We just need to build games into him and get some confidence into him when he's kicking. And we saw that he can outmark the best, and he can get up the ground in his pace, and he's even got some tackling strings to his bow as well.
Yeah, look, he just needs time at the crease, doesn't he? Really, like you say, he's an integral part of the forward line. He'd have to have, quite a few horror games in a row, I would think, to see him, the question mark be put on him.
Very good. We'll wrap it up shortly, very soon, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a really good, fun show to do. Our interview with Kate was really great. Johnny's struggling there with his COVID. He's going to fall down very, very shortly. You should have had a couple of whiskies, mate. That might have kept you going.
Yeah, absolutely. Just really going downhill. I'll have to cut it loose now.
All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Just quickly, Johnny, before we go, I know you never pick us, and that's probably a good thing because that's working for us. But Essendon this week is a win for you?
Yeah, I would say so. Provided that we show up for 4 quarters and not give away a lead in the first quarter. Yeah, I could see us knocking them off. What I really want to do is to see us now build off that momentum of Geelong. It was a great win. Yeah, let's get a couple on top of it to back it up. And like I said, if we show up, we've got the ability to do that.
Look, the evenness of the comp nowadays, the results we're seeing, and Gold Coast doing well and Brisbane doing well, and this is only going to continue from now on. We've said it before, it's turn up on the day or die. There's a very slim margin between the talent and the skill of the sides. When you're talking about maybe from first or third to maybe 10th, 11th, and they might drop after that. But if you're not on, anyone can knock you off.
Yeah. All right, I got to fly.
Johnny's nicking off. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Really appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, and let's beat those Essendon scums on Saturday. We'll touch base with you, obviously, through our page and see what you're up to during the week and where you're seeing the game. I see Adrian Hines has booked his table at the pub on Saturday, which is lucky him. Us Victorians aren't so lucky, but we're still okay in our own lounge rooms. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us at Carlton Live, and we will see you next weekend. Good night.